to all the dispossessed youth of Africa, for perpetuation of communion with ancestral spirits through the fight for African freedom, and in the firm faith that the dead, the living, and the unborn will unite to build the destroyed shrines. Selah. Hello and welcome, beloveds, to another episode of Wake Up Africa. My name is Dr. Mumbi Saraki. How you doing? How's everything going? I really do pray that you are well in all your ways and that you're moving into living life truly on your own terms, beloveds, because that is the opportunity that is available to us at such a time as this. It's such an amazing time to be alive, to have this body that we can operate and move and do wonderful things and experience the signs and wonders and miracles of these times when everything changes. You know, there's so many souls that want to be here at such a time as this, when an age closes out and a new age begins, where a story closes out and a new story begins. So many. This is like a handover. It's not even a generational handover. It's a handover, back to the rightful rulers. And it must happen because spiritually the war has been won. What is keeping Babylon alive right now is the energy and emotions of the melanated people, of the majority of the melanated people who are so caught up. And, it's really, really important for us to get into our own story and start to create and write our own story so that we can disconnect from Babylon right on time. We don't have any time, but we have all the time in the world, if that makes sense. So I really want to thank every single person that supports us on Patreon. We appreciate, love you so much, and everyone that sends us love donations. And, we just go a bit deeper on those platforms. So definitely consider joining for as little as $2 a month. So, the whole thing, the greatest secret that has been hidden from us, beloveds, is that each and every one of us is a supreme being that has supreme powers, that is here to continue a great work for our kingdoms and nations, that will continue to build this part of this universe and this world. But we were kind of taken from that highest elevation when our minds fell. And, that's what happened, is that, with all the stories, when we try and figure out what went wrong, how did this whole thing happen, Scriptures will try and tell you Adam and Eve, which is just, I won't even get into that. But what the thing that happened is our minds fell. What caused that? Was it an atmospheric thing? Was it that we entered a certain part of the universe where certain dimensions of our higher self couldn't be accessed? All those, stories, it's neither here nor there, beloveds. But when we fell mentally, everything changed. And what it took to lead up to that mental fall is something that many are still trying to piece together. How did this all happen? And it was just like we were removed from our highest creative mind, where we were thinking about philosophy and building pyramids and experiencing all these amazing, spiritual wonders that are hidden right here in plain sight, where all the beauty of life. And we were taken from that, where we would literally create our experiences just by imagining. Imagine how magical that was. Just experiencing an interactive nature that is alive and has so many secrets to offer. It was magical. We were the gods and custodians of this earth. We came in from many of us from very high spiritual levels. And many of us were working through that to get to those highest levels. But what happened is that they reduced us to our animalistic nature. They really did shrink our brains, beloveds. And if you look at the Maslow hierarchy of needs, like food, shelter, this, that, they reduced us from being at the highest level of the pyramid, being the one that decided the next 1,000 years, the golden ages, being just creating no limitation to our creativity, to being these limited, fearful beings. And the fall happened, but it's not happening anymore. Now we're going back up. We fell all the way to the bottom. And for those who haven't started trying to climb out mentally, Babylon will take you rock bottom with everything that they're rolling out right now. And the way they made us animalistic is everything was taken out of ourselves. Everything, beloveds. We literally used to eat the air. You know what I mean? We used to breathe. We were breatharians. I even heard that. I was like, what? But that was taken out of us, where we would nourish ourselves. Maybe a few leaves here and there, but that was taken out of us. And then once that was taken out of us, where we started eating more and, and then we're told all these things advanced, eating with a fork and knife, cooking our food, all of this disconnects you, beloveds. All of these things disconnected us. And then we lost the knowledge of how to even feed ourselves. Everything was removed, beloveds. Our communication used to be telepathic and much more mystical and highly advanced than it is right now. But in writing things down and in teaching people, the masses writing, beloveds, it totally changed our global mind. And everything became about the book. And it's only recently that now the majority of people are realizing the book is fake. Or the book is our own book, doctored terribly and then fed back to us. So there are certain things that were fed to us like they were a luxury when they were a great entrapment. And it's funny because even the Mau Mau, they always talked about, the greatest fight was not just with the Babylon system, but it was with the Adhomi. And the Adhomi were basically the ones who had learned to read and write, because their paradigm shifted into that reality. And once you focus, you give so much power to your two eyes, and that reading and writing you go into another reality. And what they did is they didn't teach us how to get back to ourselves, because the first eye is the most significant. What you read and write has already been written and, written and read. It's old, but we're all stuck on that, beloveds. Let's take a short break. We'll be right back. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, Africa. Welcome back, beloveds, to another episode. Welcome back to Wake Up Africa. My name is Dr. Mumbi Saraki. Thanks to every single person that likes and shares these videos, for all your comments, beloveds, and for everyone who writes to us. We do have an Ask Dr. Mumbi segment. You can always email us with your questions, spiritual questions, Dr. Mumbi at drmumbishow.com. So we're talking about how we were removed from being supreme beings when they took us outside of ourselves and made everything outside of ourselves. They put, we are the temple. And the spirit, I am not this body. I am a spirit residing in this body. This is my temple. But they created a temple and made me walk in it and worship. So everything that has been created mimics my characteristics and my powers, which are far more advanced and far more complex than the gadgets that we've been given. Even how we used to communicate. This communication is so limited. Everything that we're doing, how we're speaking, how we're eating, is like the most basic level. And as I said, Babylon took us to the lowest. There's still a rock bottom, and that's the one where many people who are falling for this pandemic, that's the rock bottom they're heading towards. But for us who have been climbing out and have started to climb out, it's to really come back to ourselves and pull out of many of the agreements that we have made with the Babylon system, to be part of their news by giving our attention to it, to be part of their entertainment by giving our attention to it, to be part of their lies by spreading them, even if we're spreading the like, oh my God, look what has happened. Anything you're spreading in the news, you're spreading the Babylon narrative, you're giving them power. And part of the retreat, the spiritual retreat that many of us are going through, means that all these things, you've got to get used to all the gadgets that were outside and learn to nurture them inside you. Like that telepathy thing. I know many of you have experienced this, like as you continue to rise up, you'll literally think of someone and they'll call you. Or you'll think of a thing you need and literally it will reach out to you. And I'm not talking about the programming that the phone is doing right now where they'll send commercials at you. But, it's just like, that's how telepathy works, because we're supposed to be magnets that pull the experience we want to ourselves. How do we pull the experience we want? It's not actually the experience we want, it's the experience we think about. We pull the experience we think about to ourselves. And so we could be creating anything, but instead we're aiding this Babylon system where many are weak, where we're on this hamster wheel, where you have to work like a slave. You don't have any free time. You can't think for yourself. You're worried about food. You don't even have control over your food. Your health care, someone else is taking care of your health. Illness was not something that existed back in the day, beloveds. This is part of the mental disorder. The fact that there's so many weak bodies out there, weak temples, is because of weak spirits and weak minds, which have been, groomed to be that way. Because it's hard to come and make it in the reality we are, because we're in the darkest, I don't want to say darkest, but, we're in the lowest of vibration as we start to rise up. And us who are rising first, our vibration is pulling everything up, and more will join us, and it will just continue to rise and rise and rise. And not everyone will rise because of free will. Some will be too far gone to rise. And that's another reason why it's so important for us to come back to ourselves and to figure it out. Like, what's my story? What are my convictions? What am I going to do? What am I not going to do? Where do I stand in everything that's unfolding? That's where we have to reach, beloveds. And know that, and come back to ourselves where we know that, because everyone is in the same pit. And as they say, crabs in a bucket. If you try and get out, many will try and pull you out. Especially if you try and give a hand. Someone will pull that hand and step on your head and try and... So, many aren't ready. They're not ready to do the necessary work. It is time, beloveds. Because you could be creating anything, but they've taught you to create lack and limitation and wants and needs in your own life. They've created so many loops, and we have to get out of those loops. The anxiety around money and working and monthly wages and monthly bills, the anxiety around all of that limits us from the, infinite power and energy and money that we have access to with the right thinking, like for real, for real. They literally turned us into animals, beloveds, so that we couldn't operate as gods here on earth. They literally made us like we can have the highest level thoughts, but they literally keep us in this loop of, what am I going to eat? How am I going to pay my bills? Okay, I have to work. I have a weekend. Okay, I have these months as vacation, or I don't even get vacation. Like, they keep us in this loop of this physical world, which is so empty. The body's not supposed to be living a physical life. The body is a vessel for you to achieve great things in this planet. You're not supposed to be in a loop, beloved. You're supposed to be in a spiral where you go from level to level to level. And that's a possibility. And the reason I share these messages is to encourage you, because I know many are doing the great work, and the great work is on ourselves first. And so, as you continue with the great work of yourself, the great work of awakening, reconnecting, remembering yourself, and reconnecting to, your highest spiritual self, as you continue that, just be encouraged that it's leading somewhere. Because so many of you reach out to me and you say you feel so alone at such a time as this. Don't be alone. There's so many of us there. And the thing is, it's like a silent war where you can't even identify the army, because the army are doing the necessary work in here. And Babylon, with all their monitoring systems, etc., they can't see what's going on in here. And if we all did more of getting what's here right, we'd see the liberation of our people happen much more quicker. I know it sounds so simple, but really that's the way. Not doing anything confrontational in the physical, because that just feeds Babylon more of our physical power, but to rise to spiritual dimensions, beloveds, and to do great works from there, to create new opportunities and possibilities for our people. Because right now, as much as we want Babylon to, Babylon is falling, but have we, as the leaders of the times to come, have we done what is necessary to create alternatives for the way that they have set up our people and the lives of the people as we wean ourselves off? Tuko pamoja.